evaluating historical imagery. The idea behind these videos are to help you, the student, the learner, come up with a system for evaluating imagery. If you're a student in the state of Florida and you have to take the end of course examination in U.S. history, you will encounter a lot of images on the test, and it's important for you to evaluate these images in terms of what the question is asking you. To do this, there are a couple of variables that go into evaluating an image, and I'm going to go over those. The first one, though, that's most important is establishing a time frame, a point of reference in time for the image. If you know your history, you should be able to gain a basic idea of a time frame that the image appears in. Now, sometimes you get lucky and the image is actually dated. Let's take a look at this one right here. This is a Coca-Cola machine, and it's dated 1943 in Jackson, Tennessee. And the caption is "White customers only, Coke machine." This machine was in a corner store in Jackson, Tennessee in 1943. So we have a time. We didn't really have to think about what time frame this image appears in, or what time in history it appears in. But if we didn't have a time frame reference to it, to find a time, it's kind of interesting. You have to be a little bit of a detective, so to speak. Look at the Coke machine. How many of you have actually seen a Coke machine like that in your local Publix or your local Sweet Bay or Winn-Dixie or what have you? No. No, Coke hasn't been 6 cents for a Coke in forever, right? So that's kind of important. We know that this Coke machine is not any time in the present day. We know it's probably not in the 60s or the 70s because it's in black and white. If it were a color photo, it's probably going to be somewhere in the 60s and the 70s. Anything really before the 50s is pretty much a black and white image. Look at how this Coke machine is made. Does it look like it's made out of plastic? No. That is metal. That is probably steel in most cases. That is a hand-built Coke machine. So we know that the date for this picture is well beyond the creation of plastic Coke machines. Look at the font on the Coke machine. That looks like it was painted on there, maybe with a template or something, or possibly even a paintbrush. But this is a handcrafted Coke machine. You don't really see those anymore. You see a lot of the main manufactured ones in plastic. If you've been to a Five Guys recently, you've seen the Coke machine that has a computer screen in it. This one does not, okay? And also the other dead giveaway is the picture of the bottle right below the Coke logo. Coke in glass bottles, yeah, that's more or less a special holiday treat or something, you know, that they give out or that they sell around holiday time. So we kind of know that this picture is we know it's in the 20th century because it's an actual picture. We know that it's in black and white, so it's probably before 1950, 1960. We know that Coke is 6 cents and Coke hasn't been 6 cents in forever. So we know it's definitely right around that 1940 to 1960 period. And we know it's hand built, so it's that too. So that's kind of interesting. If we look at the caption, it says white customers only. So that kind of gives us a period that this is before equality. This is before the civil rights movement. So that predates it before the 60s as well. Normally, though, if you don't have an object like this and you don't really get an opportunity to analyze it, sometimes there's a person in a picture, and you can always look at clothing and attire. Good tell for those images are if it's something your grandparents would wear, chances are it's old. Okay, if it doesn't look like anything you've ever seen anyone in your family wear before, or even your grandparents wear, it's really old. Okay, so that's kind of important. So the first one, establishing a time frame. Those are kind of the questions you got to look at. You got to look at every detail in this picture. We got hand-painted fonts. We got a steel Coke machine. We got Coke in bottles. Coke at 6 cents. It's a black and white picture. It doesn't look like anything we've ever seen in our lifetime before. Glass bottles and Coke. We're using all this information that we have about Coca-Cola, and we're able to kind of gain a point of time that is pretty close to that 1943, right? We know it's 1943, but even without that, we're getting pretty close just by examining the picture for what it is. So establishing a point of time is very important. You have to use the knowledge that you already have, whether it be historical or maybe you just really like Coke machines. But you have to use that knowledge that you already have to kind of get that ballpark range of a time frame, unless the time frame is already provided to you, in which case many of you will see that on the end of course examination. The time frame is provided to you, and then it's just a matter of taking the historical ideas or the historical topics associated with that time frame and applying them. Remember I said that this was before the civil rights movement. This is Jim Crow. basically. It says white customers only, separate but equal. There's a white Coke machine. Maybe there's a non-white Coke machine. I don't know. This is only the picture that I have. So, but this is just an idea of how you can establish a time through examining the image, using that knowledge that you already have, and then going with it. Go ahead and continue on to the next video. That's establish a location. That's important too.